I hope you're doing well today. I have heard that some of you are starting to feel really stressed with the school year starting to ramp up, or being at a new school, or just general fall anxieties, especially with things opening up again after lots of COVID shutdowns. That has caused a lot of changes in people's lives, and those changes can be stressful, especially when they all happen at once. So today I just wanted to do something simple and cozy and comfortable, so I figured maybe we would do some hand movements. And of course, I have some tea with me. And I'm very glad that it's still warm. A lot of the times whenever I have tea for a video, I take so long setting up the video that by the time I actually take that first sip, it's a little bit lukewarm to cold. But this tea is still warm, so I'm glad about that. I also have for myself my Snuggie, because I truly am also a little bit not stressed, but tired, I've been working pretty hard, and so I want to encourage you to do right by yourself and take a minute to relax and get comfortable by doing the same for myself. So I'm putting on my Snuggie. I got the Snuggie a long time ago. I also just hit my head against my keyboard behind me, but it's okay, it wasn't bad. I got the Snuggie a long time ago, so not only is it wonderfully warm and cozy when I want it to be warm and cozy, but it is also nostalgic for me. And I remember sitting around campfires with it, and sitting with my friends with it who had similar Snuggies. Some adult in my life at some point got Snuggies for me, and like 3 or 4 of my friends, as kind of a joke one Christmas. And the way jokes do, they tend to ripple out into sincerity, I guess. So now I wear the Snuggie very sincerely, as a way to be cozy and comfortable. And it is a blanket with sleeves, so how can you go wrong? So, for those of you who are just starting the semester back at school, or for those of you who are maybe a couple weeks in and it's really starting to ramp up, I want you to know that first and foremost, it's okay to relax, to take time for yourself. Whenever I'm in school, the thing that helps me the most, there's two things that help me navigate the busy life of a student. The first one is making lists. And I know that doesn't help everyone, but that certainly comforts me, knowing that there is a set amount of things that I have to do in the day, and I don't need to do any more than that, and I don't need to do any less than that. I just need to do those things one by one and get through them until the list is done. So that really helps. But then honestly, I think more importantly for me, the best way that I was able to get through school, and whenever I'm going through a particularly work-heavy time in my life, regardless of where that work is, people talk a lot about the dangers of making your hobby your job. But I think for a lot of labor, it's the opposite. So whether that's work or school or volunteer stuff or whatever, I think you can make your job your hobby. And there are limits to that, like certain classes I was never able to do this with. And those were the classes where I just had to let myself, make a C, and it's okay. And if you have classes that you need to make a C in and forget about them, then that's okay. But if you feel passionate about school, and if you feel passionate about your grades, or if it's a class that is very important for your specific track, future, whatever, then I recommend that you really look into yourself and into the class and try and figure out ways that you can integrate all of the things that you love into those classes. If it's a class with a lot of writing, for example, there's almost always ways that you can slip in little bits about yourself and your hobbies and your loves into your writing. You can twist assignments to suit you, especially if you're in an upper level course or you have a more lenient teacher. If you're in a more math or physics-based class, I have historically struggled with those, but sometimes the way that I get through them is by trying to find the beauty in the math, which whenever I don't understand it, it's really hard. But just trying to make my formulas look really aesthetically pleasing, trying to show my work not because it's a chore and I have to show my work to get the grade, but showing my work because it's an opportunity for me to be artistic. Showing my work, the more work I show, the more of a canvas I have, And again, all of this due to the extent that is reasonable for you. Sometimes you just need to do homework, and that's fine. But this is specifically if you're struggling to find the motivation to do anything. You can take yourself and put it into your work and make your work your hobby. Because whenever you're a student, you don't always have time for your real hobbies, whether that's art or performance or reading or talking about yourself on the internet. So you have to put those into your work somehow. Find avenues of expression through your work that can fulfill you. And it's also always been really, comforting to remind myself that in general, even though school is expensive and school exploits you in so many ways, especially college, that the people are not usually at fault. Your professors are generally good, and they've worked very hard to get where they are, and they want to help you. They really, really do. And even your administrators, your bursars, or your, I don't know, what else are there? Deans, presidents, whatever schools call their pupils. They're on your side, and they're in those positions because they care about the success of students. And if you talk to them, they're usually more than willing to help you get whatever it is that you need, whether that's a higher grade or advice or more time or financial assistance or pretty much anything. If you just keep asking, people will impress you with their generosity. All that said, I know that sometimes whenever you're really in the thick of things with school and assignment after due date after due date, you don't really need advice. You don't need recommendations or suggestions. And heck, all of that can feel really, really overwhelming. Sometimes you just need something to help you shut down your brain. Sometimes you just need something to help you shut down your brain. And that's okay too. You can take the time that you want to relax and shut down and breathe. Let's do some breathing, okay? Let's breathe with me. Good. Now we're going to do that again. And while we breathe, you're going to try and empty your mind of everything except for one doable task. And that task can be something you do tomorrow morning when you wake up. Or if this is more of a break kind of video for you, then it can be what you do whenever you're done with your break. But that's all that you need to focus on. You need to focus on that one task. Maybe it's sending one email or beginning an essay or figuring out how to cite something in MLA format or returning a book to the library. Whatever it is, just try and think of one task that should be next. And instead of thinking about all the things that you have to do, just think about that and think about the way that you want to execute that task. And let yourself feel just how prepared you are to take that on, because you are prepared. It's just one thing. And you know it is within your ability to do, because the people around you are on your side, and because you have the resources to take that step. And if you don't have the resources to take that step, then that's not the task that you should focus on. It's a task before that you should focus on, because this next task is your next step. And so try and think of what that is. I think I have mine. And now we're going to breathe together again and just think about the execution of that one task. kind of exciting to like have something to do that you know is gonna set you up for your future in some way. It's different from just having things that you want to do. It's really fun to have things that you want to do as well, and it kind of like makes your life a lot more fun, right? To have desires and just things that you want for yourself by yourself. But it's exciting. It's so exciting to have the opportunity to be productive, to do that for you. It is a form of self-care. And your job or your work or your schooling, it can be your hobby. It can be your hobby. And it can be your home if you want it to be. And if you don't want it to be, that's okay too. There are 1,000 other homes and hobbies that you can invest your time and love and energy into. You are something that you can take with you everywhere you go. I know that sounds kind of obvious, but I guess what I really mean is that the part of yourself that feels good, whenever you have a good time, that's happening within you. And the thing that's having a good time is you. Oh gosh, I'm getting very woo-woo with this. I don't mean to be. I'm trying to avoid saying your best self because I don't want it to be something that's about the people around you, but your best self for you. Whether that's whenever you're in a room full of people and you're like cracking the smartest jokes, or whether that's when you're by yourself in your bed with some tea and a good book, or whether that is when you're playing video games and you are, I don't know, like killing all of the other people whenever you're winning, or no matter where that is for you. Whenever you feel those moments of pride and love for yourself, that version of you is always inside of you. It's always in there. And that love, that pride that you can feel for yourself in those moments, whenever you start to feel overwhelmed, try and bring yourself back there. Bring yourself back to that line you read in that book that made you feel good. You can bring yourself back to that moment you were laying on the beach and you felt the sun and you felt like your existence was affirmed. You can bring yourself back to that moment when everyone in the room was laughing at your joke. You can bring yourself back to that moment when you cooked a meal that everyone loved. You can bring yourself back to the moment you made a 100 A+. Not because the moment itself showed your value, but because you realized your value. Because of circumstances that helped you realize your own inherent value, right? But those moments showed you something that you don't need to let go of. They showed you how freaking cool you are. They showed you how cool you are. And they showed you that you can take on anything, okay? You can take on anything. You can take on anything, from this test, to this assignment, to this crotchety professor, to this overwhelmingly kind professor who you're afraid of failing. You can take it on. I promise you. I promise you. You have what it takes. You have what it takes because you know the next step. The most important step a man can take is the next one. I remember whenever I was a child, I did a lot of theater, and I had this friend who always, whenever they acted, they had very pretty hands, and I always felt like, who do they think they are, just being so pretty on stage? That's not what that character would look like. But I think at its root, I was kind of jealous of that, opportunity to be so expressive and to dance with my hands and to do these fun things. Because I never really felt like I was allowed to indulge in that kind of expression. So I'm very glad I get to now. I wish that ended on something a little bit more profound, but no, I'm just indulging in little hand dances because it helps me relax too. To remind myself that in this complicated, crazy world, this is one thing that I enjoy. And I'm allowed to do it. I'm allowed to at least try. And you're allowed to try. You're allowed to try. You're allowed to try and fail. You're allowed to try and succeed. You are allowed to learn and be embarrassed about all of the things that you thought you knew before. You are allowed to relax. And to be kind to yourself. You are allowed to indulge in your love, okay? Okay. I hope you guys have a good night, and I truly mean it when I say good luck, and I'm thinking about all of you who are in school, and I'm praying for y'all. Sending good vibes. I am sipping my tea just for you. This cuppa dedicated to you and your academic success.